Hello, my name is Jonathan McClintock, and I am the Adult Curriculum Editor for Word Aflame Curriculum, and just wanted to share a few things with you about what is taking place here beginning with this fall 2019 release of our curriculum. First of all, I'll let you know we have heard you, and we thank you for your feedback. We thank you for being a customer of Word Aflame, and many of you have been customers for years, and we do this for you, and so we're so grateful for your feedback and the input that you've given us. And so we wanted to make some alterations and kind of formulate this student workbook. So I'm going to take you through it, show you what we've done, kind of give you some ideas. I'm really excited for the product that we're putting out here. I think because of your feedback, because of all the things we've heard and we've realized through this last year, I think it's going to even serve a larger group of churches. And many more churches are going to find that this material, because of its flexibility. At the beginning of each lesson, you're going to see a focused thought, a focused verse, and then the whole lesson text. That's going to be on one page. And so you're going to have all that information there. Then you're going to have many of you said that you liked the culture connection being a part of the student workbook, so we have kept that also. But one thing we have added that we didn't have in previous versions of this workbook is we've added the lesson outline. So those main bullet points that the teacher sees at the beginning of their lesson manual, the students will also have. So they'll be able to follow, at least on a high level, the direction of the lesson. One thing you'll want to take notice of is some little notations beside certain points of the outline. You're going to see day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, little indications beside certain points of the outline. Those are going to correspond to the approach section in the student workbook. Okay, so what do I mean by day 1, day 2, and so forth? It's really a way that breaks it up so that students can have a time of personal devotion, a personal discipleship the week before, the week after. It just designates that and allows them to break the material down in that way. Really what we've done is in the approach section, we have added, for those of you that have been with Word Aflame for quite a while, you remember that the student handbook was what it used to be called. The student handbook was really just a slightly condensed version of the lesson manual. It was basically all the stuff that the teacher had. The student had also, with maybe just a few things missing. So what we've done is we've added a lot of that copy back in, so the student will not have everything the teacher has, and it'll still be less than what it used to be in the student handbook. But this version of the student workbook is broken down into days. Day 1 will have a portion of information from a certain section of the lesson manual, and at the end of that day there will be 2 questions. One that has something to do with the material that was just being read, and then a follow-up question, that second question. Day 2, the same way. It'll be a portion of the lesson manual, then a question and a follow-up question. Day 3, day 4, day 5, the same way. The way it's all laid out is it's going to provide, we believe, churches with really 2 or 3 different options of using this material. We heard from a lot of churches who liked to use, and the students would have their books, and they would kind of prepare that week leading up. They'd prepare for the lesson, so they would read through and they become familiar with the lesson so that when they got there on Sunday, they knew what the teacher was teaching. It'll also serve those students who want to follow along. That maybe your classroom style is a way that the students like to have their books out and they like to follow along. So they will be able to follow along on the outline, and then when the teacher's on that certain part of outline, they'll be able to refer to whatever day that outline is corresponding with. They'll be able to follow along with some of the content. And then each of the questions that are listed, the lesson manual does include the first question that's listed in each one of these sections. So it'll serve those that have students that want to follow along in class. It's also really and this is what was the ideal we thought and we feel would work best, is for students that not only follow along, but that they would take this home then, and then they would, the week following the lesson, they would go and take the next 5 days And they would take each one of these sections, day one on Monday, and they would read through their section, and then they would be able to follow and answer these questions. And then day two on Tuesday, day three on Wednesday. And so then they would be able to continue that discipleship and that growth process, personal discipleship, that week following. You now have many options, and I think it'll fit many formats. Whether your class is you like to prepare beforehand and be ready for that Sunday, all the students, or if you want to follow along on that day, or take it and use it afterwards in that personal discipleship time, I think it's going to serve very well. I want to encourage you to use the questions, encourage you to take time during class. I know some classrooms, just the way it's set up and the way you're used to doing Sunday school, you just prefer lecture style. The teacher up there and just kind of pours the information. The students just sit there and listen. And you can still do that with this material, but I would encourage you to ask the questions and take time to let students interact with you and give feedback and talk about what's being taught during the lesson. I think is very important. Lastly, some of you I know still prefer like the old style, and we did this last year for those of you that just did not feel like you could integrate into the new way we had it laid out. We did encourage many of you to buy the lesson manuals in and give your students the lesson manuals. We still have that discount available for those that would like to do that. We still have that available. For those of you that have done that in the past, you are familiar with that. You can just ask our customer service team when you call, and they'll give you that discount for those of you who want to buy lesson manuals for your students. The reason for these changes, again, we wanted to add, we've listened to your feedback, we've listened to what you said, we value you being a customer with us, and we want you to be pleased with what we distribute and what we create, but also we feel that we also want to give you something that can enhance the growth and the personal development of your classroom and the students in your classroom. So that's why the changes, that's why the format, that's why it's all laid out. So we want to challenge you and encourage you to dig into this and use it in your classrooms.